Yeah, so we got Chidumebi calling in from what Dan says is Pennsylvania. I would call it, parental accents. The way you speak when you have children. I don't know.
What? Okay. All right, you lost me on that one.
I don't know. It's, who is requesting advice for science-based communication with religious people, specifically how to battle AI answers. We'll talk to Chidumebi first while we're waiting for our first theist to come through the screening room. Chidumebi, you are on AXP with Forrest and Dan. How you doing today?
Hi, Forrest. Personally, I think I would have gone with paralyzed Australopithecines.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Why didn't you go with that? I don't know. Oh, anyway, you could have said that, but
it didn't come to mind. So tell us what you're calling in about specific, because there's I'm guessing with that kind of call screen, there's some context here.
Yes, this came at the end of the current semester, and I had some students who were each individually assigned to write some papers on some of the latest findings in paleomammalogy. Unfortunately, they and some of these students are religious, have been trying to use OpenAI, ChatGPT to tell them everything in their research papers. And I noticed this, they were supposed to hide some. I noticed this because there were some terms that were so wrong, because for one thing, they said the AI answer said that an Arsenopter is the same family as an Australopith. So how do
they both start with A. They got that going on.
They both start with A. I agree. I think that's enough connection that you can make scientifically between the two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where no further detail or elaboration is required.
How do I impress upon students, especially in terms of science, to not rely on these things? Even when they fail, even when I point them out, they still go back to them. It's become to them like a pedestal, like a house idol, like a house deity, because they've communicated with it so much. And especially with religious students who have tried to say, nah, you're wrong, because they will use AI to have the Bible justify some of the anti-evolutionary thinking things as well.
Yeah.
So how
I
combat that?
Yeah. Dan, do you care if I start?
Yeah, you should. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's good, because this is something that I run into from time to time myself, that I've already dealt with. I have gotten into plenty of discussions online and in person where somebody, I know you're wrong about blah. I asked ChatGPT and it said I'm right, and that's, they really believe that that's the thing. When I was a kid, we had to have these conversations about Wikipedia and talk about why Wikipedia is a place to find sources, but it is not a source because anybody can edit it. And of course, Wikipedia has gotten better since its inception. But like, explaining why it was wrong and showing how Wikipedia graffiti and stuff worked was a very valuable lesson in like how to do fact checking. And so with, kids today in ChatGPT, it's not just as easy to say, well, they can say anything. I think it's important to make a lesson in technology, and kids, these kids they need to be technologically literate. If Carl Sagan talked about this, we are in a civilization that is more and more reliant on technology and science, and with a population that understands technology and science less and less, right? And so when we talk about ChatGPT, the first thing we need to understand is bias. This thing is a language model that is trained off of everything it can pick up from human discourse. It can't come up with anything on its own. It learns everything from the internet that it sucks up, which means every bit of sexism and racism and misogyny and homophobia and xenophobia and stupidity and ignorance that it finds on the internet are now also part of its model, are all part of it. You can show, I don't know how age appropriate it would be, but like, I think Windows made an AI that they put on Twitter years back, and they had to pull it down within a couple of hours because it was spouting racial slurs. Yeah. And so like, you just, showing how these things actually work, and that this isn't a great academic professor on the other side of the keyboard. This is just a thing that is basically a search engine that's also good at compiling whatever the hell it finds. It is as reliable as a random Google search with no context. Also, understanding input bias. So when we talk about Googling skills, if I want to say, go Google and learn about evolution, if you type into Google evidence for evolution, you're going to get very different and more reliable and more academic results than if you say why evolution is real or why evolution isn't real. Then you're going to find specific results that are biased and they're catering towards the specific search terms you're putting in there. So teaching kids how to do that when they're Googling in the first place is important, especially if you're talking about ChatGPT. If you look up, in ChatGPT, can you explain to me why this philosophy is wrong? It's going to tell you that. It's not going to say, well, actually, it isn't, and here's why. It's going to tell you whatever it wants to, whatever you want it to tell you, whatever you tell it to tell you. There is also like a ton of stuff right now when we talk about AI research, where it's becoming more and more of a problem that ChatGPT and other large language models like it are overwhelmingly just complimentary and positive. Even if you're dumb as all hell and you're saying things that make no sense, they just say nice things. And they're like, yep, you're a brilliant, what an erudite thing to say. That's really, you're breaking new ground here. This is really incredible, because that gets users happy and it works. You know what I mean? So understanding that these models are designed for good output, not accuracy, that it is a user-friendly experience, not an actual intellectual experience, that's really important. And I think the best way to demonstrate literally all of those things at once is to demonstrate it. There are a lot of cool demonstrations you can do to show how faulty these things are. What was it? There's if you ask how many F's are in a word or something like that, it can't do it. It can't figure that out because it does its stuff by the word, not by the letter. So if you ask like how many times does this letter come up in a word, it'll mess it up. Showing, please explain to me why 2 + 2 = 5 and have it show you how that works. Like, I think those kinds of demonstrations would also be powerful lessons, and showing these kids, like, if you use this, you are boned. It's great for grammar checking. After you have written your essay, put it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, how can I strengthen this argument? Are there any holes in this argument? Are there any ways I can improve the grammar, the flow of this? How can I, what's something that I didn't take into account that somebody could criticize that I should? I do that. I have had professors tell me to do that. The whole class say, hey, you have your end of the semester thing coming up. Put it into ChatGPT and have it tell you how dumb it is. Criticize yourself. Do peer review early and then write your essay again and turn it in after that. Just don't have it write your damn essay for you, Those are the ways that I would be presenting this to students, and those are things that I think you should be doing too. And I've been talking for like 4 solid minutes. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add, other than I'm assuming you're teaching at a collegiate level because you're doing anthropology. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I used to work at my previous career. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, my previous career, I was in education. And so I understand there's only so much you can do when it comes to course, creation. But it seems to be that from what I've seen from people who still work in education, that the best solution has been in-person assessment and oral assessments as well for a lot of these sorts of knowledge things. Again, if the goal is just to see if they actually know some of this stuff, right? As much as you can to kind of alleviate that. Because the truth is, ChatGPT is not going to go away tomorrow. And kids are going to keep using it regardless of how much you convince them of it otherwise. So I think force points are great in demonstrating some of the falsity of that, but you still have to have some stuff in place because some kids are going to use it regardless, right? As far as the kids who are talking about oh, what about these arguments for God and stuff? I mean, the way that I would approach it is just what I take a theology class, and I can know that some of that stuff I think is bullshit, but I still have to know what Thomas Aquinas has to say, right? So they still have to be assessed on their knowledge of evolution, whether they believe it or not. And that's part of the requirements of the course. So if anything, I would just say, look, this is what's required to be taught. This is what has to be known. And your ability to pass or fail, this comes from your requirement of knowing this. What your personal belief about it is outside of the scope of the class, right? And if they're young adults, I'm assuming you can have that kind of conversation with them, at least in a way that makes sense. But yeah, as always, you as a teacher, you're in charge of a million different students' lives, and you can only do so much, and you have to be able to, take as much responsibility as you can without burning yourself out with, saving each individual kids. They don't, not everybody's going to feel the same way at the end of the day, but I think you can do a great job in helping them at least change their mind on some of that with some of the great points that Forrest suggested. So anyway, that's what I would add.
Well said, and I do thank you for both of your inputs. I will try to do that, especially with oral and written assessment instead of computer assessment, to see if they actually know and aren't just vomiting what the LLM told them. So thank you, Dan. I hope your wife's Switch doesn't get bricked by Nintendo.
I didn't get it. I didn't even get it. There's nothing for me to get bricked yet, but we'll see.
Also, Chidumebi, if something that Dan just said at the end there kind of struck a chord with me, and I think if I give you an advice just as an educator, like I think one important lesson to impress upon the kids about this, it's the same reason why you shouldn't cheat in college. It's not just that, people say, oh, you're hurting yourself more than. No, the thing is, now you're in college to get a career. You're not there because you have to be, right? You're studying to get a career. And now, if you have done your whole time going through this, using ChatGPT to write, you are now in a career that you don't know how to do. That's the best case scenario, is you pass your classes, you don't get caught, you don't get expelled. Best case scenario, you are now trapped in a career that you don't like and you don't know how to do. And ChatGPT is an anthropologist. And that's where we're at. And that's just, what a horrible freaking life for you now.
That idea just gave me a big headache.
It's awful. Yeah. It's awful to think about.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
thank you. Forrest, that was a great speech earlier. Thank you. Please have it recorded and share that on your Reacteria channel. And I will end the call here. Thank you so much. You have many other theists to talk to. I will continue to listen to the show. And if you guys want, I can update you how it went in the class in the future to see if you had.
Sure, please do. If you can't call in, definitely leave a comment, and we'll try to look at that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll update you guys in the future. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Have an awesome rest of the day, maybe. Thank you.